someone is asking, does WES accept WES evaluated transcripts? WES is mostly used by US and Canada. So Australia doesn't usually ask for WES evaluation. But if you are relocating to Australia, that may be a different issue entirely. But for admission purposes, no, all you need is your documents. If your university is approved and your course is accredited, you don't need anything more than that. For someone also asked about English programs, English exams. Yes, depending on where you come from, you may need to provide English results. So IELTS is the usual popular one. So if you may need to write that depending on what you are studying. I'll give you an example. If you are studying law, for example, irrespective of where you come from, usually they will want to ask you to provide IELTS. But students from English-speaking countries and countries with English as the official language usually get exempted from IELTS. But if your English history is poor, for example, you are from a country where English is the official language, but your English result is C, then you may be required to provide IELTS test. Now, I also want to add this based on experience. When we are working with, we currently work with over 500 universities across the world. And for many cases that we've had, students from countries where English is the official language, when applications are made for them and they don't have IELTS or any other English test, what usually happens is that the universities that are willing to accept them are limited. So it's like there's a return of, let's say there's a return of 20 universities that you're qualified to apply to. But if you have English exams, you may end up with 100, 200 universities that are willing to accept you. And out of this huge list, you will find a lot of opportunities in scholarships. Even the lower tuition schools will usually ask you to provide IELTS test or TOEFL, whichever one you have. Now, the explanation I will usually give to people is this. Writing IELTS test, I think if I'm not mistaken, it's less than $200. It's less than $200 to write the test. And if you write the test, you may end up being able to apply to a university where the tuition is, let's say, $10,000, whichever country, put the currency behind it. $10,000, but you have spent $200. Add it together, that's $10,200. But if you didn't write English exam, the universities you will be able to apply to minimum $15,000. So at the end of the day, you discover that you are putting yourself at an advantage by writing the IELTS test. Someone says I'm a PhD candidate in renewable energy, data science, ICT as tool for development and knowledge management. Yes, I'm sure you'll be able to find a place in Australia. Yeah, and even if it's not Australia, you want to go to outside Australia. And then I should also mention that when you are going to study in any country, you are expected to show proof of funds. That's very important. Your proof of fund usually is expected to be at least 1 year of tuition and 1 year of living expenses. So let's say, for example, you want to go to Australia to study. Your tuition is $15,000. Your living expenses, let's say, is $10,000. That's 25,000 Australian dollars. So you're expected to have 25,000 Australian dollars in your bank account sitting there for at least 6 months. So when people tell you, oh, I did this, I applied, and then I didn't get, they didn't give me visa. Yes, they won't give you visa because when it's 2 weeks to visa interview, you went and looked for money and dumped it in your bank account. It does not work that way. It's not going to work. They know that you have gone to collect the money from somewhere and you're going to return it. So you will be denied visa. And then there are a few other considerations you should also have for, say, your sponsorship. If you are not working, it is good for you to have a sponsor who is directly related to you. A mother, a father, an uncle that answers the same surname, or a brother or sister that answers the same surname. You know, the reason is that even if Uncle ABC has agreed to sponsor your education, but you answer different names, when you go to visa interview, the idea is that who is this person that you're not related to that is trying to sponsor you? Why will this person be wanting to sponsor you? What is the need for this person? So if you can justify all of that, by all means, you can use your maternal uncle. But if not, your paternal uncle may be your best bet. But there are always ways of, you know, you can, if you have justification for whoever is your sponsor and you're not answering the same name, for example, let's say this person has been sponsoring your education all the while, yeah, that's a good point. So you need to factor all of those in for you to be able to make a case that will be acceptable. And I should mention again, like I always mention, if you have applied for visa before and you have been denied in any of the 5 member countries of, I forgot the name now, Australia, New Zealand, UK, US, and Canada, if you have applied for visa to any one of those countries before, if you are applying to any one of them again, please remember to mention that you applied before and you were denied. The reason is because they all have the information. So if you lie, you are presenting yourself as a liar, an unreliable, deceptive person, and that may cost you your visa. So the fact that you have been denied visa before does not mean you will not be given a visa. So please be sincere, be truthful. And I have another question here. Samples of universities that are relatively cheaper, you will have to go online, please. I don't have a list. There are so many of them. There are 46 universities or so, 47 over there. So it's a lot of work to do that kind of thing. So please, if you check online and do a search for cheapest universities in Australia, I'm sure you're going to find a list come up. And then English exams, I think I've already answered that. I've answered the West issue. And then there is need for, sorry, you're going to find that in the video. This program is being live streamed, so please, you have them there. It's possible to move with your family to Australia while traveling to resume for the first time. Usually that's a bit of a challenge in many countries. It's a bit of a challenge, so it's always better for you to go first, resume, because the problem is this: when you are going to resume in a country for study, you don't resume with a student visa. You actually go with a tourist visa. So except if your family is going with you on tourism, that's when you can be talking about going with family. But you don't have a student visa yet, so it's very hard for you to carry your family along when you're going. So it's important that you go first, apply for your visa. When you get your student visa, then the family can easily, because it's your student visa now that you're going to use to apply for your family visa. So if you don't have it, you can't apply for it. So that's why you need to work on getting your own visa first before you can apply for your family visa. Thank you very much, Dr. Omeje. Thank you, Dr. Babikoy. There are schools in Australia that waive application fee. I would say my answer to that is sometimes, from time to time, they do offer such opportunities. So they will announce, they will usually tell the agent, okay, for this season or for this period, we are waiving application fee. So that's on a case-by-case basis. I think those are the questions that I have here. And I think, let me see. Engineer Missy, thank you very much. See there. And then who else? I think those are the questions that I have here. I would say we should be rounding up. And before we do that, let me see, I'm seeing a question again. Just click that. How can we be informed when university waive processing fees? I don't know. You're going to have to probably be checking their website from time to time. If you are applying through Arrows, yes, Arrows may know when they waive fees because they usually see the message, for this season, we are waiving the fees and all that. So that's the only way that I think I can explain to that. You have to go through an agent if you are from some parts of Africa. So some Australian schools don't accept direct application from students from certain countries, for example, Nigeria. Yeah. So let me see, I'm seeing a question here. It says, I found the test course here on you. No, unfortunately, you cannot sponsor your brother or sister over 18 years of age to Canada. However, depending on the type of family relationship, qualification requirements may vary. I'm not sure of what this is referring to, whether it's for education or for immigration. So it's a bit out of context for me. If I know the context, I may attend to this. Usually, if you are a citizen or a PR or you have been elected, you might be able to sponsor your family members, parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters. You can do that. So sponsorship here is usually referring to immigration. When they say over 18, I don't know what, maybe the text, let me have the context for that. Proof of fund, I've already explained that. Score band for IELTS is usually, I think, 6.57, depending on institution. Each institution sometimes do determine how much they want. So, but I would say go for 7. Go for 7 overall. That might be good. If you can do better, the better for you. But just, and I think that's. I once secured admission from Malaysia University and enjoyed. Okay, thank you very much. And then, so those are the questions that I have here. I think I'm able to take 1 or 2 from the house. So anyway, before I do that, I would like to make this announcement. Some of them are very important. So Scholar, there is, as you can see on the screen there, I'll say, so if you want to apply for September 2022 and 2023, this is the time to make your application. The applications are already closing. By the end of May, they will be closing permanently. So if you are willing to go to any country now, still in 2022, you must apply before the end of May. Many of them are already closed. There is a scholarship opportunity that is currently on for a PhD scholar in Malaysia. So if you want to study PhD and you want to come to Malaysia, scholarship opportunity is available. It's recently opened. The the field of research is applying deep learning or machine learning in medical imaging. So if that's your field of research, this scholarship applies. And if you have, the requirement is for 4-year bachelor's degree. That means even if you have a bachelor's degree and you have first class, you can apply for this. Or you have a master's in computer science or engineering. So master's in computer science, master's in engineering, bachelor's with first class in computer science and engineering, and you are interested in studying applied deep learning or machine learning in medical imaging, then this is for you. The benefits are there. You are not going to pay tuition, and you're going to receive 2,500 ringgit every month as stipend. That's to cover your living expenses. That looks like a very fantastic offer. So I would say go for it if you're qualified. I know this session is for Australia based on what I've come to know. They share same requirement as Canada. Can you give your candid opinion on which is more preferred? Okay, Canada versus Australia, which is more preferred? I'll come to it. The issue of postdoctoral program, something, okay. Okay, so this is the postdoctoral, okay, someone else is asking, no problem. For Australia versus Canada, I would say the currency is very similar in strength. The cost of living is a bit higher in some parts of Australia, especially in the cities. But if you stay in the regional areas, it could be the same. So I would say it depends on what your final goal is. If your final goal is immigration, if you want to live in any one of these countries, it will depend a lot on what your preferences are. As I showed at the beginning, you see where the two of them are. Both of them are at the ends of the earth. One is at the northern end, the other one is at the southern end. So depending on what you prefer, if you are running away from a country that is too cold, Australia may be it for you. Canada is much colder than Australia. There are many warm regions in Australia. So that could be a factor to consider. Living expenses could be a bit somehow in Australia, it's a bit high. But then if you eventually become a citizen, the quality of life is good. The same thing in Canada. I would say from the feedback that I have received in terms of the diversity of the immigrant community there, I would say it's similar, but when it comes to say people they have more people from India in Canada, more people from India, more people from the Philippines. So I think I'll say Asian population is high, African population is high. So it depends on you. I would not, and I think Canada has a very strong immigrant program, very strong, a lot of opportunities. There are about 70 plus immigration programs in Canada that you can explore. So that could make it easy for you to access citizenship or PR very early, very easily. So that will be, I think, my answer to that. So it's a function of preferences, a function of your preference. Where do you want to be close to? Where do you want to be far from? That may be some important factors too. And then also your job is important. If you are in the academics, for example, it's a bit difficult to get an academic job in Australia than in Canada. So the professions that are regulated are the same. But in Canada, I think you have more comprehensive opportunities, especially if you are not a big-time professional. If you have maybe trades job, if that's your area, that could be Canada would be a very good place to go. And about postdoc programs, it's a bit dicey because postdoctoral programs are usually either announced by the government and you have to apply through an institution, and there are so many conditions that goes with it. Like you have to produce a research proposal, you must get a supervisor, a professor that is willing to work with you, and you have to, many of these postdoctoral programs usually have age limit and they have graduation limit as well. Usually you must have graduated less than 5 years from your PhD for you to access postdoc. If you are more than 5 years out of PhD, you're not likely to qualify for any postdoctoral program, but you can search for a research fellowship. There are many research fellowships. All you need to do is get a professor from the university you are interested in who is willing to discuss with you. So start the discussion before it is time to apply for the scholarship. So that's the challenge with postdoctoral programs. So I will always say, build a relationship before it's time. So that can be an opportunity. But if you are more than 5 years out of PhD, you're not likely to get a postdoc. So postdocs are usually for within 5 years of PhD. We also, I think we do share, I do share postdoc opportunities on my Facebook page from time to time, anytime I get some from any one of the universities, I do share. So go for research fellowship if you are being out of your PhD for a long time. And then one other thing you can do is try to get into social media communities of maybe students or postdocs in this university that you want to. You should go for social media communities there. That will help because there you get people who can link you up with such opportunities. And if you have colleagues who are in some certain institutions out there, you can always tell them because they get to know about such opportunities on job boards, notice boards within the campus, or they may be working directly with a professor who has such an opportunity. And sometimes these opportunities are announced on departmental or faculty websites. So it's something that takes a lot of work to access. Many of them are currently open. So if you are within 5 years of PhD, there are so many of them that are open now. I think there is one of the very popular ones in Canada is currently open. If you are qualified, you can apply for them. I can put that up on Facebook or in the chat group later on. I'll find the link and put it there for those who may want to apply. So I think it's 3:11 p.m. at my end, and I will like for us to draw the curtain here for today. So if there are no other questions, I think what a postdoctoral candidate for doctoral program should have in hand to study in Malaysia, just a 2 to 3 page research proposal is good enough. Your international passport, your certificate, and your transcript, that's all. That's all you need. Just be in touch. Usually you don't have to pay anything to us other than the university application fee, which you are going to pay directly to the university. We will process for you free of charge.